Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Okay, we have a quorum. Either. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the consent.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Have public hearing for additional appropriations.
Yeah, so for the additional appropriation, I'm trying to scroll through that. We do have included in that additional appropriation will be dollars for the ladder truck actually.
Mhm.
That's will be coming in this year. I had to make sure that I'm saying it right because it's flip-flop from, we're supposed to get the engine, now we're getting the ladder truck. So the additional appropriation money for the ladder truck, as well as money for the Murphy Aquatic Park future construction projects, the money that we've invested into trying to get as much of that development and planning work done is costing us some money that we didn't originally have in the budget as well. So that's what the appropriation request is for.
Leave it open for a minute, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we will open public comment for 1 minute. Public comment. Okay, we will close for public. And we will move on to department head reports, starting off with township assistants.
Good afternoon. I've included May and June in the packet. As you can see, applications are still steadily increasing. We've just started doing school close assistance. And on Saturday, Becky will be at the Avon Education Foundation school supply drive, has more information there as well for those people that need assistance there. Any questions about township assistance?
So much, it looks like the interviews were more.
I think it's just timing on the payments.
Okay.
I think it's just timing of payments. You'll see when we do the next month, it should
July
be.
we hire.
Okay. No further questions? Resources.
Been ever busy in human resources as well. A lot of the fluctuation in the terminations and hires are because of the summer. So we took off all the extended care counselors and then added on all the camp counselors and summer pool employees. Basically the changes we've been doing in human resources. Questions about that?
Thank you. Parks.
Okay,
feel like it's been a while since we did it. So I want to start off with the aquatic center. So we have found that the heaters have really been a game changer for us. We've had a record number of rentals for the facility. We had to open up our birthday party package to weekdays, which we've never done in the past because we just ran out of weekends. And that was with doing 3 different birthday parties a day on the weekends. So now we're renting out weekdays. And then our memberships have skyrocketed, and you can see that from our revenue report. Our memberships are way up from last year and even the year before. We were able to host 2 different concerts, which were very successful. The final count, our highest attended concert, was around 1,000 people, which was great. And we got a lot of really good feedback from those concerts. This Friday is Viking Day, so if you're available, there'll be a cardboard boat race for the true Viking, and also some jousting and fun stuff that we created with pool noodles for that day. For the Nature Center, we hosted our first ever nationally recognized Master Naturalist class, and so those individuals actually get a certificate and actually can be Master Naturalists. Right now, they're going through their service projects, which they are doing some really neat displays about the root systems of different prairie grasses that we have at our park. For our programming division, you can see have on average about 36 programs each month now. And that's with the addition of our fitness classes. We get people coming to us now regularly wanting to do more fitness classes. So our kickboxing class, we held our first kickboxing class this week with a record number of about 30 different people at that kickboxing class. So that was really cool to see all those people filling up the Pavilion Center. And then we have on here our camps are doing really great. Lily Camp has hit its highest numbers of over 230 kids at that camp. And then for the Explore Extended Care, I'm happy to report that we have all site supervisors have been hired, which is a really great place to be in. We're really excited about that. And we're continuing to hire. We're really close to being fully staffed, but as we all know, we're never fully staffed. So we're going to continue to hire more, and that way we can accept more kids at each school too. Because we have opened up for registration, and we're finding a lot more people at each school are registering for the program. And so then we get to, you can see in the revenue report, we're exactly where we need to be as far as the water park for our goal. And then we are over in our general budget, and then we're over in the overall budget as far as percentages go. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Well, the pool motors, I assume that it wasn't under warranty because it's probably.
It's not the pool motor, it's the wave motor.
Okay.
So it comes with 2 motors.
Okay.
And we've been running it off of the motor that it's on right now. It's out of warranty because the warranty is only a year, which is most of our stuff is only a year. So it's a substantial amount. It's about $10,000, but the wave pool runs just fine right now on 1.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're going to budget that in the budget coming up, and then we'll get that fixed for next season. But right now it's running just fine. We don't have any issues with it. The waves are still strong. So we're just going to continue with this until we have that money to fix it.
Okay. I just didn't want to overload that one. And then
Right.
have any in that
Right.
situation, so I didn't know if there was
We
something.
keep it in the middle anyway, so we're not at the top tier of the waves, because if we put it all the way up, you would have like tsunami waves out there, because we've seen what that looks like. It also damages some of the inside stuff when we do have that because of the seal of it. So we have it at a minimum anyways. And so actually that was the suggestion from Spear, is to go ahead and run it on the one that it's got now, and then we can later.
Okay.
And we got some great context from our Turner, who's here today. When our compression tank, when our air compressor, when we were having issues with that, we couldn't get the waves to work, and we found out it was a compression issue. And so we've gotten in contact with a great company, Tri-State, and they show up that next morning. They're very good to work with. They've given us some helpful hints on things and even saved us a lot of money too.
Okay.
So they were a great contact to have for the pool.
So when you have both motors, are they both running? Okay. So if this one that we have breaks, then we're gonna be in kind of an emergency situation.
Or an
Or anti-way.
Yeah.
Anti-way pool.
Or the second thing is just have the maintenance guys back there. Or in the pool.
I was gonna say, just jumping around.
Any other questions?
One other, so on the pavilion rental,
Mhm.
kind of when it was year to date, it seemed a little lower, it could be different for that. I mean, talk about other things, but is there maybe just something out there? But expanding that or having a larger,
I would like to,
Rental.
but the situation we're in right now is most of those weekends are booked already. And the difference in price over there is really just a matter of two different rentals. So in the past, we haven't really had to advertise for it. A lot of people come to it and we're still kind of in that flow. We do advertise at some of the different wedding, publications that we have. But in the past, we haven't really needed to, but because we're doing so many programming rentals for us, we can't book as many in the room because we have programs going on as well in there.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. If it was bigger, could we do more stuff?
Yes.
That's what I guess my point.
Yeah,
Not
if
as
it
much.
was bigger, we would have more things to put in there. I'm just at capacity at this point. And I want to keep the momentum of the fitness classes up because they are doing so well. And we just had someone yesterday want to do Tai Chi in the building as well.
I'll probably email you after, I'm sure you guys will wanna see it too. I'm wondering if we can see the MAP revenue, like each year, kind of next to each other and what it looks like.
Yeah,
Right.
I did this year and last year, but I can add the year before that. That's perfectly fine.
I kinda wanna see it by month.
It is by month.
There's some previous years, so like
Oh, previous year
23
each
months.
month. Got it, okay.
Cause I'm just curious to see the consistencies, the inconsistencies, I know a lot of it has to do with weather, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And now we got this heater, so I'm just trying to analyze. Yeah, take a quick look at it.
Stephanie and I have been regularly checking revenue and expense for MAP
Mhm.
anyways. So it shouldn't be hard for me to pull up each
Okay.
month and be able to kind of give you that spreadsheet. And I can do that before the next board meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. Byron.
Dread, that's good. So our upcoming recruit class is in its final stages. We've talked about that about every meeting, through all their examinations. They just made it today through the local pension board, so they go off to the state today. Be 17 candidates. They just passed the local pension board at 8 o'clock this morning. As of last meeting, we mentioned being at full staffing for the first time since February. I'm going to hit on that a little bit later also in our overtime charting on the last page. But right now, we're averaging about 250 hours less in overtime per month year to date versus 2023. Again, that's just getting staffing right, getting our management methodologies on par with each other, and making sure that we're managing and getting people credentialed and trained appropriately. So again, it continues to pay off, 250 hours in overtime times 30 plus an hour, significant savings per month. So again, those aren't small dollars and cents, and we can start looking at trends over the next year or two and then decide what else we can do with that money or where we can offset other expenses. Although we lost a couple paramedics due to resignation, we're going to continue to have applicants to pull from. Right now, we have 5 people waiting to be hired within the paramedic pool around us. It looks like people are always searching, always waiting. We always tend to have people waiting. We always tend to have people interviewing. Whenever Chief Weiniger gets back from vacation, we're going to be doing interviews for paramedics for the later part of July. One of them is just an employee who just started with us this year. She wants to go back to critical care, working 12 hours a day and home every night. Thought 24 hours is going to be a lot better on the family. It turned out to be a little rougher. So we appreciate that. You got to respect people's family and livelihood choices. Sent a great message to everybody on our Guardian tracking that went out through the whole township, I think, for everybody on Guardian. But again, it was not a negative loss. It was just a loss. Negative for us, skilled person, good high contributor. Again, their reasons were their own, and they were complimentary of everybody in the companies. Stage 143 and 145, we'll update you on later. We're getting to GMP. Right now, we're sitting down with our builders,
left and right. They've come in with some pricing preliminarily. They're not too far out of what we budgeted. There are some things that came back we didn't care for too much. So we sent them back thinking, and they'll think a little harder and come back and we'll talk in the next weeks and probably have some information in the next month or potentially sooner to share with you. Fire training. This is the important one. We've let that sit empty on and off for a long time. In the room, in the back of the room, sitting with Chief Porter, who's the Division Chief of Training, Scott Huff. We would like to welcome Scott Huff and his experience. As I've written here, we had a number of individuals submit resumes and training portfolios from around Indiana and the Midwest. The Chief's Huff history and qualifications made the decision easy for our staff. I sent his bio to each of you in separate emails as a matter of information. I think I found that it was published recently in the Republican as well. You said you had something coming up maybe in the Icon too. So again, just letting the community know. We're bringing out resources. Chief Duncan's done the same thing out in Danville, bringing Chief Vincent out along with him. Our answers don't lie east. If we're going to progress, or west, our answers lie east if we're going to progress, or in other metropolitan areas like Fort Wayne or Terre Haute or other places. We're looking to draw from that experience. It's great to stay in town. It's great to stay in the companies. It's great to stay around here. But as we develop us, sometimes we've got to seek outside answers because we don't always do the best for ourselves. And that's what we've done. It's been a quick gel with us and the crew. As he navigates the details of the department, we're excited about his complement of drive, vision, and work ethic that he's bringing to our team, the camaraderie. He and Chief Weininger have already started talking. They've got the recruit class flowing. They've been sitting with Chief Porter. Things are working the way they should. And that's what we've been looking for a long time, is that dynamic. We recently also had 20 employees complete fire officer strategy and tactics. Again, that's our people stepping up to lead themselves. That'll help them when becoming officer candidates. That's step one. We also had many of our employees who've already been through the class sit with it voluntarily just to get refreshed. Doesn't help to keep learning even if you've already got the cert. So sometimes that certification is a piece of paper we've studied for, and then the next time you go through, you pick up the details, and that's what we hope happens in sitting through these classes again. It's not always the most fun thing. On to EMS. Chief Weininger, who's down in Florida right now, enjoying Disney with her family. She's worked diligently on the FTO position. She worked with Chief Phipps, Chief Porter, primarily Chief Porter, on the job description and its implementation. We had some rocky parts in the beginning. We've since ironed those out. Again, that FTO, I know early on we had an EDO position. I came in and wiped that out. It was day one. But it was about creating layers and not starting at the top layer, but starting and building from the bottom up. And that's what we're trying to do here. So the FTO, they'll be responsible for riding out with our EMTs. They'll be responsible for precepting other paramedics in the area. We're looking at partnerships with Ivy Tech and about 2 or 3 other schools. IU Health will work with Hendricks as they go through their paramedic programs. Again, just to try to be that funnel, that pipeline. It also gives us a firsthand view of potential employees. That's the same vision we have for fire training. It's just going to take a little longer to get there and a bigger investment. So Chief Weiner has been highly instrumental in that. This FTO position is step one. Again, start at the bottom up. It's not what everybody always wants, but it's opportunity. We got to create opportunity, and that's what we're trying to do and making sure it stays within the budget, which we hope we hear from Mr. Peters earlier or later. You guys have me nervous, but I thought old Jeff's were going to be here. Sitting right behind me the whole time. So, lastly on the report, before we go into fire and SPAD investigations, we did have a big compliment from Dr. Schmidt. He sent a text, said he received an outstanding compliment from a friend. The 143s took good care of him during an MI a few months back. Please tell your crew's outstanding job. This is the kind of stuff that matters. I fully support the recognition. Avon has some rock stars on the team. I've stood up here a number of times and told you about compliments from the public. Those haven't stopped. I mean, they don't happen that often. People speak up and say, hey, I was sick and you guys did a great job. But once in a while they do. The rest of that compliment you can read yourselves. He redacted the name. The person is a local person, an executive for a local business, and highly complimentary and willing to come and talk to our crews. Once I get put in touch with him, I think we'll start initiating that because it's important our people hear the end result from a lot of critical runs that they go on day to day. Moving into fire prevention. Dividends on hiring. Why do we need to grow? Why do we hire another inspector? What does putting pub ed do, below the fire marshal do? We'll start with, I didn't put this in, but Courtney Lee just finished with Public Educator 1 and 2, hard class to find. She stated that was probably one of the hardest classes she's ever gone through, has a fairly decent fail rate. Luckily, she passed both of them. But again, people were there from all around the state down here at Meetng, took advantage of it. Normally, they're out of town and a little harder to get to and have a lot of lodging and things like that to worry about. So that made it easy for us. So she went in and did well. Appreciate her for doing that. Division notes, division brought in $700. The revenues here aren't what they were in the past. So you're not going to see those supplementing our budget moving forward as much because, well, growth is going to stop at some point. There's not going to be enough land to grow. The inspections and the new buildings, you know, they're happening, just not at this fast a rate. There is a nearly 1 million square foot building coming up. That'll be a decent revenue bump. Then you have another 2 million square foot building being planned, which would be one of the largest, I think, in the state. What I heard this morning, what Levi said? Yeah. So that'll be some decent revenue based on square footage. But again, those aren't going to be the norm, right? These are things we get as part of our job. They're not something we go out and generate per se. He and Tom both went through CBSA examination recertification and hiring the other inspector. In 2022 and 2023, we were at 1,106 and 1,013 inspections. Year to date, we're already over 900. That's paying off. We'll be able to hit about every business in our area. We haven't done that in a lot of years. So hitting all those businesses, keeping our people educated, keeping them apprised of changes, making sure that our Knox boxes have the appropriate keys for easier entrance and less destruction is highly important. Knowing how buildings are cut up inside that you can't see from the outside. Those are the things that they see as they go into inspections. And also just making sure things are up to code for the safety of our people in the community. As you go back to run stats, last page, last thing. The first thing you see is our average turnout time, about halfway down the page at 1:07. Again, a couple seconds off of the norm. But again, we're staying within the standard. Having training and ops working hand in hand, there's going to be training things that we can start hitting on. And he's already given his training plan for our people and where it's going to start moving forward. Getting people out and busier than they even already are, and just staying fresh on the basics is going to be huge. That'll pay off for us. But they're already doing a good job. Average first response dispatch on scene at 6 minutes is adequate. As we build Station 5, you'll see that continue to be driven down as well as we move into that southern area. Monthly overtime hours, you see at the 300. That's what I was talking about. 300 hours is much less than the 800 and 900 we've been reporting in months past, month over month, year over year. When you move down to apparatus out of service, this part will probably eventually go away. VC 140, engine 144, and medic 144 or engine 144 being EMS only. Those is due qualifications. We've been at zero for a number of months. I'm to the point now where we can just quit reporting that because there's no trend other than zero now. So that's a testament to ops and wearing both hats and making sure people are trained, to our officers stepping up, the battalion stepping up, keeping people developed. So that particular measurement's probably going to go away. Incidents year to date, we're 228 more than this time last year, 4,080 runs. We're on track to be between 8,300 and 8,500 runs. And C shift is holding it down with 1,372 on total incidents year to date. So congrats to C shift. It is normally B shift that's holding it down. So they've been the higher one, at least in my time here. Anyway, any questions from you all to me?
A lot about recruit class. From start to finish, how long does it take you to get recruit class completely finished?
It usually goes anywhere from 24 to 28 weeks. Ours is planned for about 26, right in the sweet spot of that.
Okay.
It could go on for another week or two. It all depends on testing and how quickly they absorb some of the material. But our actual syllabus will be set to 26 weeks.
Okay. And they always go through the class.
They go through as a class from start to finish. There have been times in the past where people have had to play catch up. It's not the intent of this class, so it'll be ran a lot differently from start to finish from the expectation being set on paper.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, trustee report.
So you will notice that I don't have a written trustee report in the packet this month. That was done intentionally, and I am planning on continuing that moving forward. So this item will come off the agenda. The reason behind that, if you look at the last several months of my report, so many of the items that I specifically talk about as things that I've been working on over the last month should really be included in the agenda. And you'll see some of those items under old business and new business coming up here today. I think in an effort to try to be more transparent, I will use the pedestrian crossing as an example. We talked about that for over a year. It was in my report last month, and I don't think that that's as transparent as we should be. I've stewed about it myself for several meetings now. I talked with Ashley about it to see if I was, just going down some wild path in my own head. And she's like, no, I kind of wondered that same thing. So I just made the decision that in an attempt to be more transparent, so the people that are paying attention to our packet, that are looking at our agenda, have a better opportunity to see the items that I specifically want to talk about and on any given month to you, the board. So unless there's any real wild opposition to that I have not considered, that's my plan moving forward. And again, the items that I would have normally included in my report will be in the old and new business from this point moving forward.
Old business, the Matt pedestrian crossing.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
We're right
again.
back in.
So I did reach out and talk with the town manager. They are looking at opening up bids, which is what I mentioned last month as well. So we still don't have a solid timeline on when the pedestrian crossing is going to be done. So as I continue to lean on them to try to get that answer, as soon as I hear it, it will, of course, be on the agenda for us to talk about again in the future.
And then future development options from that.
Laura, do you want to talk about this one?
So I know I've had the chance to speak with each of you, but we wanted to kind of say it in a meeting. After our last meeting that we had decided to reach out to some businesses that specialize in doing pro forma business plans, creating a business plan for us for the recreation center. So we reached out to two different companies. We did ultimately decide to go with Pros Consulting for that pro forma business plan. And then we wanted to make sure that we talked about in a public meeting. We have decided to move forward with R.L. Turner as our bot construction. And so they'll be working with Pros Consulting, ourselves, and also R.L. Turner. And then we'll be reaching out to Jeff Peters as well, just to go over that business plan and create that. We talked to Pros Consulting, and we're looking at about 4 to 6 months to be able to come up with that business plan. Once we get to that point, we'll be reaching out to you to set up a special board meeting where we can go over that business plan. Pros Consulting would like to present that to you as well. And that's going to give them plenty of time to be very diligent, to get all of the demographic information that we like. And then they'll be able to kind of present that to you. So we wanted to make sure that we brought that up in our Murphy Phase 2 update. You guys have any questions about any of that? I will go ahead and just update you each board meeting, like where we're at with that process as we go along, either as an agenda item or even in our board meeting too. So that way you guys know where we're at in the process, and they may even reach out to you guys individually too. Any other questions?
Thank you. New business, Station 143, town annexation.
So I sent an email to all of you individually the other day in reference to the annexation letter that I did get from the town. They do have the intention of annexing property around the area of the Prestwick Golf Course into the town limits. And one of the properties, while they have the majority of the homeowners in a particular subdivision, of course, they need connecting properties in order to incorporate them into the town limits. One of the properties that they are planning on annexing in would be Station 143. What does that mean for us? Not a whole lot, other than we'll get stormwater utilities out of the deal. But I mean, we pay stormwater utility fees on all of the other properties that we have. So not a major impact to us, but still something that I wanted to bring it to the attention of the board, that the town is planning on moving forward with that annexation. You were provided with a copy of the letter that includes the dates of the open house. If anybody is interested in attending that, I wanted to make sure that you had those dates as early as possible. So Tanilla is a Parks employee, and she also does cleaning on the side. Laura and her staff have brought Tanilla on board to clean the Pavilion Center. That was a difficult one to find someone willing to do, because that is always an after hours, after the event cleaning. Oftentimes around the midnight hour is when that cleaning takes place, because the building needs to be turned around for the next morning. Sometimes we have events the following day. This is very similar. We did one of these, I believe, last year, and I don't remember who was in previously. Had a couple different staff members who have done cleaning on the side. Again, this conflict of interest is just making sure that we are disclosing that publicly, so that way everybody's on the same page as far as what that process is.
You want to make a motion?
I move we adopt the conflict of interest declaration of Tanilla Riley.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up is presentation of the 5-year plan. Mr. Peters.
All for the opportunity to be here and help. Again, updated for completion of 24 data that we have available to date. Most specifically, budgets for 25. So we've gotten those from the Township Fire Department and laid these in to see how they look, how they match up versus the decision that you made last year in implementing more or maximum levy, leaving $340,000 of the fire maximum levy. I carried that forward and continued to keep that $340,000 in reserve. If we do that versus the 25 budgets and then projecting forward under our assumptions that we had previously, we're looking at the future revenues projected would outpace expenditures by about 1.5 million annually. And this is looking at all of those operating funds, because as you've seen in the past, you are moving some expenditures between fire and park and the general fund based on the lit revenue flows only into the general fund, property taxes flow into parks and township out of one pool, fire out of another pool. So you have the ability as we go forward to reallocate those expenditures to balance that. So looking at all three together, you're ahead about $1.5 million a year. The one thing that is not included in revenue that I kind of struggle going back and forth, and it is the supplemental lit distribution. And I know we've talked about this in the past. In May, you just received a supplemental lit distribution of almost $1.3 million. Obviously, a significant amount. That is the amount of income tax revenue that you should have received 2 years ago. They used more precise information. So they have historically now underestimated how much money you would collect in Hendricks County as a pool and you would get as your proportionate share. And then the statutory formula forces them to flush it out every night. I have not included that into the future. I have made myself comfortable with the methodology they're now using, and I think I can compute that amount going forward. The one thing that keeps me from doing that is at some point in time, we're going to see another recession. I don't know how long or how severe that's going to be. But when that occurs, this, I assume, will be the first revenue stream that goes away. Because when we actually have that downturn in income tax collections, I think the state will pull back on that on the projections, and that money will no longer materialize. So I put it in there on the township line because, you know, it kind of jumps out at you. Hey, where's the rest of this revenue? If we don't have a recession in that time period, I think that amount will be very heavy. I don't know if you want to plan that, if you want to, at this point, just wait and know that, hey, that's something that may come year to year. And if so, you could allocate that money to a given one-time project where you can assume, hey, I'll get half of that on the average of all years because a recession will typically be a short-term period. Long-term, we know how the budget agency is distributing this money. So I might take a certain amount of it to add to operation. Just to be aware of that, if you want me to change that assumption, we can do that, show you it'll be a significant amount of addition. The other thing I wanted to touch on in summary is this $1.5 million that you're ahead year to year. Part of that is your growth in income taxes, obviously the suburban areas. And we continue to reap the benefits of that. If you decide that having $1.5 million a year in surplus is too much, and you want to give something back or cut property taxes, do not cut the operating property taxes that you've deployed out of the maximum. Instead, budget debt payments from your operating funds and cut your debt levies. Because by statute, your debt levies do not draw any income tax. Your operating funds and levies do. So if you cut the debt levy, you're just getting rid of the debt levy. If you cut the operating levy, you're cutting the property tax levy and cutting your next year's income tax distribution. So it would be beneficial to you to, again, continue to garner the amount of income tax that theoretically your taxpayers have paid in. And then, like I say, you could budget debt payments accordingly. Otherwise, you know, I think use those amounts for your future projects. You know, in any of these future projects, you can always kick in available excess cash that you have to buy down a debt financing from 10 million to 8 million or 6 million. That's kind of the big picture. I know we've been through in detail before. I didn't know if you want to go questions, but all in all, you're in a great position. Budget's more than funded. You've got great cash reserves. You know, we've gotten over all those humps of having cash flow issues.
No, I
That's always me.
didn't look at you for yeah. Do you have any questions?
I don't, no.
Sure.
For now.
For now.
You can always hit me up.
You know, I'll have more later.
So, and again, at this point, we're gonna kind of keep that supplemental at zero if you guys.
I am
with
fine
that
with,
thought
I would
process?
rather do conservative. That would be my preference.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have resolution 07102001 additional appropriations.
So this is the additional appropriation that we just discussed in the public hearing. I will remind the board that we would like to have individual votes for this additional appropriation, as well as when we sign the last page of the document that Shane has there, it is opposite. The yay versus the nay is opposite than what it is on most of our documents. So please be mindful of that when we go to make those signatures, whichever way you choose to vote. Yes, all right, trying to get to the correct page now. So the, very small. Okay, we have $1,445,000 from general. And that is specifically for the ladder truck that we talked about, that was ordered in 22. Yeah, someone from Byron then probably shaking their head, yeah. So yeah, that truck was ordered even before I was in office. It was supposed to come in next year. Surprise, surprise, it's coming in this year. And so the need for that additional appropriation, that's what that specific dollar amount there is for. And then as discussed earlier, the $206,000 is what we have used from recreation, and that is specifically for the new master plan for Murphy Aquatic Park, the entire property, as well as some of the original engineering and architectural work and design work that we have been putting together in order to be able to go out for the bids that we put out, or the RFPs that we put out earlier this year, to try to get a better idea of what it would cost us if we are going to do any or all of the improvements at Murphy Aquatic Park at some point in our future.
And that amount was just as what we have spent as of the day we prepared this, so that we might be coming back asking for more later.
Forgive me, is this for the or is it?
So we're actually not, I heard someone in the back chuckle. We're actually getting a second ladder truck. It is not going to be a true quint by definition. Or am I saying that right?
This is the truck that Chief Smith used to refer to
Refer
as a
to
quint.
See, so I'm not crazy,
It is not a quint.
whoever
It
chose.
is not a quint. By true definition.
Okay, but it is not a quint, it is a true ladder truck that we're getting, correct?
But what we were ordering hasn't changed.
Correct.
Verbiage has
It just was, it kept being referred to as that. by the
Infamous
previous-
quint.
Right.
Okay, I will never say that word again, out of my vocabulary.
I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we approve them together, or do we need to approve? them
Yeah, they're all
separately?
together in one.
We need a motion for approval.
Yep.
And then an individual vote, if you would please.
So I will move to approve the additional appropriations in the amount of $1,400,000 truck and $206,000 for pre-planning, engineering, architecture for MAP Phase 2.
I approve the transfer of $206,000.
And I'm in favor as well. So, here we go. I get to sign for it. Okay, next up is the policy update on resignation or retirement of employment and PTO payout.
So this is just really a change in verbiage. We always, or they always, but for the most part, have operated under the new verbiage. When we went to look, we found it was not like that in policy, so we changed it. Basically, once you give your 2 weeks notice, if you do not show up or work all your assigned scheduled shifts after that, you will not get your PTO payout.
We're good legally, right?
On that policy, I'm good all with the exception of the last sentence. I don't understand what doesn't
The
show
last in
there.
the red, so failure to provide a minimum of 2 week notice, or failure to work all assigned scheduled
I guess
shifts.
that's the change. I don't have a red mark,
Oh.
so.
Oh, he's talking about the last black paragraph.
The last paragraph, the
On
last.
termination of employment.
You did not change that.
Well, I'm just trying to understand that.
Also, if the
The
employee
rest of it makes sense. I'm good with that.
So, also if the employee leaves Washington Township, is that what you're talking about, the very, very last one? So basically, if someone were to leave, and for some reason we brought them back in the same position,
Yeah.
they wouldn't get the same pay that they had when they left. So if they received any like bonuses or bumps in pay because of longevity, they wouldn't get that back. They would start back at base.
Coming back as a new employee,
Yeah.
not coming back at the rate at which they left.
Okay, so they're treated like a.
Like a true new.
Okay, all right.
Motion for that?
I don't think so, I think it's just an awareness thing, right?
It's just an awareness, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Just now have, so we have our upcoming budget dates, we have September 5th, the budget workshop, September 19th, hearing on the 2025 budget, and September 10th is the adoption of the 2025 budget. Yes.
October 10th.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in time, and then October 10th is the adoption of the 2025 budget, so. To wrap up, any public comment or wishes to be heard? Okay, if not, we will.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 3:48 PM.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we are adjourned.